Dude, yeah, I love the breeze. Yeah. Such a nice breeze. Hopefully we get some like thunder rattling in the shades.
There is another storm coming behind you.
There's some crazy lightning on the way here.
Summer storms are here.
Don't be that guy. Welcome to the Okayest Cook podcast. We are on location again here in Corey's lovely house.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank
guys.
you for hosting us. We are giving my wife a break. I am Chris Whonsetler, your host, and I'm joined by my three co-hosts, who I'm going to introduce ranked by who I think lets dishes soak the longest in the sink in hopes that their wife will do them. We also have dogs running around, so you might hear some click clacking in the background. But yeah, so I think
that's a death sentence in my house.
I think
good luck.
Well, you just ruined the ranking. You spoiled my opinions. I'm gonna go Corey Cole, Andy Heiser, Colton Heiniger.
I've been known to leave them in the sink for a bit, so
so that might be fair.
We talked about I like to clean while I cook, but then the couple dishes that are left with the hardened stuff on there, let them soak. Hope Sierra cleans them up.
Yes.
I don't want that.
You can't have the wrath.
Yeah. No thanks.
I'm notorious. Yeah. Stephanie is like all of you. Like she needs to clean as she goes.
Yeah.
And you all know that I am not.
We have a thing now that if I do the dishes, I don't have to do the laundry.
That's fair trade.
So, and I don't
see. My wife
it.
doesn't trust me to do the laundry because I screwed up a batch.
Well,
on purpose?
No, it legitimately was not on purpose.
Well, we have little ones too. You're not doing enough yet, but we have multiple little ones. I hate doing their laundry, man. Especially
tiny
girls'
stuff is
laundry.
hard to fold.
Especially girls' laundry. It's terrible.
I bet. Yeah.
Don't have that problem.
Yeah, I mean, in a house full of boys, on my end, they're just different for different reasons, or dirty for different reasons, and equally not fun. But yes. What'd you guys eat this week?
I'm gonna call her up on the couch.
Okay.
So we'll stop with that.
Yeah.
Oakley.
Come on.
Here comes the dogs.
Come here, sweetie.
We may or may not cut this out.
Let's leave it in.
Yeah.
I like it. Oh, there she is.
Lay down.
Yeah.
Lay down. You can't hear Moose. You just can't touch her toenails, so that's why it sounds like that.
There you go.
All right, sorry.
She's gonna be licking your booms. Nice. Yeah. So what did you guys eat this week? Anything cool? Anything fun?
I just made some steaks. That was pretty good with some really good bread.
That was so good.
And say that's mine.
Yes. Big old steaks, beef steaks, which is kind of weird, for Andy and I.
Yeah.
We just haven't had beef in a while. So
Yeah.
the flavors were different. Not bad, just different.
Those were my first round steaks that I've ever cooked, and I did not like. It was very difficult to get a sear. In fact, there was no sear. I didn't like that.
A little bit.
How about you, Colton?
I had Sierra did another good sourdough discard recipe this week that we haven't had before.
Okay.
So we're hitting summer here, and we did strawberry shortcake. She made discard.
What's that mean? Discard.
So I think
Wrong
we're doing
episode.
Yeah, we're doing a sourdough
That's coming next
episode in the
week.
future.
Okay.
I'll save it
We'll
for then. Yeah.
Say that.
Hint it.
Yeah.
Hint at it.
Just curious.
But yeah, she did sourdough discard like biscuits, and we did strawberry shortcake, which with fresh strawberries we picked from Spencer Farms. So.
Dude, I need to give you some of mine.
Did you get
We'll
some?
talk about this later here.
Yeah.
We have so many.
Yeah, later.
Yeah.
Give it 5 minutes. Yes, that sounds awesome. We need to collaborate, Colton, for sure.
Yeah,
so.
it was awesome.
Yes.
What'd you have?
Me, dude, I went to
Going
Goose the Market.
Yeah.
And so Chris Eiley, I forget his last name. He cooked for the BHA Field to Table.
Yep.
Such a good freaking dinner. So he owns Smoking Goose, which they make salamis and all that meat. For those of you who aren't at this table, look up Goose the Market. But also Smoking Goose does the meats, bologna and salamis and all the things. Goose the Market is like a sandwich shop / farmer's market that they run. And their sandwiches are top tier.
Yep.
And I had the Audrey. Oh gosh, and I took a picture of what was on it, and I should have pulled it up, but I'm not ready per usual. Here it is.
Are they in Carmel? Or are they downtown?
It's downtown.
Downtown,
Okay.
Yeah,
I need
downtown.
to check it out sometime.
Yeah, so it had mortadella, greens, sweet and spicy pickles, and pimento cheese, and a citrus cilantro mayo. You're gonna have to Google mortadella. It's kind of like a ham bologna type meat. It was amazing. Like, loved every bit of it.
Nice.
Yeah, so good. That was my notable meal of the week.
Well, if you've been listening lately, you know that we've had a strong kick towards going to farmers markets. So Chris and I went to the farmers market, and I found a nice little gem I shared with you boys via our chat, and it's spicy peanut butter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that had all my attention.
Oh my god! This guy like literally flagged me down, which I love, and I was like,
Buy my peanut
he's
butter.
like, you got to try this. And I was like, it's peanut butter. I'm down. Let's do it. And so he had 3 different types. He had kind of like a mild, medium, hot, if you will.
Oh man.
And I went with the mid tier one because I love it. Had like a slow burn afterwards. Where the spicy one was also very, very good, but it kind of was like immediate. And I liked the slow burn of it, and I was able to do, and this is where I shared this with, I think I shared this with you guys as well, but like I was like, this is going to make a bomb latte as well. So,
Oh yeah.
Latte.
I made I guess it would be a spicy peanut butter oat milk latte
Sounds so good.
Interesting.
with this peanut butter. And it was amazing.
Yes.
So,
Dude, next time you do smash burgers.
oh yeah,
Peanut butter.
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
go to
Yeah.
for sure.
Unfortunately, it shut down, I think, but Punch Burger used to be a burger joint downtown, and they had awesome Thai peanut butter spicy burger.
Scotty's Brew
so
House used to do
Yeah.
one as well.
The Schumann
special.
Did
they?
Yep. But if you want to get a taste of it, it's not the same. It's similar. It's another Scott Wise joint. The Root. The Root
Yeah.
has a.
Don't have to go.
Roots. It is. They have a peanut butter and jelly
Yeah.
burger. It's got jalapenos on
Yeah.
it too. So it's very good.
Ford's Garage here in Noblesville does a peanut
Yes.
butter as well.
They do.
Yep.
I gotta say, I'm not a fan of the peanut butter on burgers.
Oh, come
I'm in the
on.
minority, I guess, because
You
I
have
have
Oh,
to
man.
defend yourself on that one.
Well, let me ask you then. How about donut burgers? Because you
never
don't
heard
do,
of a
I
donut
you don't do.
burger.
You haven't
don't
heard
do-
of this?
well,
What is
he
a
doesn't-
donut
He doesn't
burger?
do buns,
Right.
But it's a state fair thing, and
State
you
fair
take
burger.
a
I feel like I
yeast
have one of those.
donut and you cut it in half and turn it inside out, and that's your bun.
I think they do that at the Roots as well.
I feel like I want to
Dude,
like
no,
that.
the one I saw was 2 full donuts with a
yeah,
patty.
I've seen that as well.
like,
But
that's a bit much.
the
I'm
one
not
at
a
the,
huge
the state
sweet
fair.
person,
Mm.
so I feel like that would be too much for me.
So Colton's going to sit out on the desserts episode. Coming
Yeah,
correct.
I'll just sit there and listen, you know. So
Ugh. Well, let's flip the coin here. We're going from desserts to vegetables because tonight we are discussing our gardens, and we're going to talk Andy into starting a garden.
You're gonna try.
Yes. Yeah. So obviously we all have gardens. Colton just started this year, right?
I'm new.
And
Yep.
Corey,
I'm in my second year.
you've been moving around a little bit lately, so
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
establish something when you're moving.
Well, everything that I do is in containers.
So you can move with them.
Yep.
And I moved about a year and a half ago, and I took my compost with me, but I left the raised beds for the people buying the house. They expressed interest in. So we moved midsummer, and so I had like awesome tomatoes going, and they're like, yeah, we'll keep those, and you're not gonna dig up a tomato to move. So I gave them the beds, but I took all my compost with me and put that at the new house. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm a year and a half into my garden at my new house, and Andy has. Do you have potted plants or anything?
Zero.
You have nothing.
There is one potted plant on our back.
Andy
back-
grows dandelions.
No, my grass is beautiful, buddy. My grass is green. It is awesome. I have the luxury of knowing you gentlemen.
So you can't even have like a dandelion salad.
No, no, it's very. I can have a wheat grass
not as
salad.
good. Not as good.
But no, our neighbors just to the north of us have been gardening. Jody's lived there for like 40 some odd years or something like that. So she's got a very well established garden.
Oh, awesome.
Raspberries that grow wild now in the back. So like we can, so we give.
That's on my goal, like my list of things to do is
Right,
a berry bush of some sort.
Yeah, I share.
You can see mine right there.
Yeah.
Oh, you got berries?
Right there.
Nice.
In the corner.
Nice. I love it.
But yeah, no. So I have access to your guys's and or so I do a lot of trading for meat.
There you go.
So
I'll trade meat for veg.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Well, let's talk real quick about the start of all of your gardens. So I don't know who wants to start over there. I could start with what I did, but
yeah. So we,
so like we're talking to Andy here. So like, what are you going to do first? So if you're going to go bucket, Colton and I both have raised beds.
Yeah, raised beds.
So maybe Corey can start with your buckets.
Everything I have is in a container, and it's very similar to a raised bed.
Oh yeah.
The difference with mine are all self-watering. So if we want, we can go out there and take a look. We can maybe take some pictures or something for the show. I took 50-gallon drums and I cut them in half. And so for me, I don't know about you guys, but I do a 50-50 blend of peat moss and black cow. As my compost.
Cow manure compost.
Yep. So, and then...
Sounds shitty.
It is.
But before I put all that stuff in there, there's tons of water bottles with holes in the bottom of it. And then in one of those water bottles is a PVC pipe that comes way out of the drum. So I water it. Once the roots get established, I water it from that. And then all of those water bottles fill up and it just keeps...
Kind of like you might have to draw us some schematics.
Yeah, it's kind of like the clay pot, kind of method. Have you seen those videos where they bury the clay pot in there and it kind of slowly waters it? Yeah, it's kind of self-watering. So it's very similar to that. Nice. So, but for me, we've loved it because it's one, when we move from here and we finish our build, we'll be able to take them with us. Yeah. Because having all of that dirt, now that we're in our second season, has a lot of life and a really nice ecosystem in it. So
that's huge. Yeah.
I want to take that with us. So,
well, and for somebody that is maybe thinking about getting into it, it sounds like that's an easy. I mean, you could do one bucket. You can do 10.
Bucket, yeah. So for example, just on size, one of the buckets out there that we have our peas in has 12 plants in it. It has 12 pea plants in it.
Now, how wide, like the circumference?
Is that
what's each bucket?
What's a 55-gallon drum?
It's like
2.5 feet, 3 feet.
3 feet.
Yeah,
that sounds about right. Yeah.
So we have 9 of them.
Nice.
And then we have 5-gallon buckets that we do like small stuff in. Well, I don't want to say small, viney stuff. Our watermelons, cantaloupe, potatoes. They're all in the 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah. I know a lot of people that have started with just doing a couple 5-gallon buckets with a tomato plant, a jalapeno plant.
Super easy.
Just to try to get their feet wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy?
I would have interest, I think, in a jalapeno plant.
Yeah, I've got some jalapenos.
I think the tomatoes are hit or miss at our house. I like them. Chris selects them on some things, but not necessarily in salads. And then no one else will really eat them. So my concern with the tomato plant is that I'm going to end up having the problem that ends up getting pushed over to my house from Jody's house is here's 1 million tomatoes. So
how about green beans? Green beans?
So I'm not a fan of green beans.
I've got 10 of them popping up right now.
I'm in deep water because I forgot to plant green beans this year. And that's my wife's number one. Like, I love green beans.
Well, I have a bunch of empty buckets that we're not using this year. You're welcome to take some of those bucket homes to use for your bush beans.
Nice. I've got the space for them. I just need
to. Well,
it's a little late to start the seeds for me.
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
I think we'll have a longer. To do that tomorrow, then. I think we'll have a longer, warmer summer.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be all right.
Nice.
So when do you guys start this?
After Mother's Day is the general rule. However,
let's talk more about soil real quick.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to that because I want to hear what Colton mixed up.
Tell me about your dirt.
Yeah, so we did.
He's got fancy ones.
We did 3 4x8 foot raised beds this year. First year doing it, literally know nothing. So I'm in the same boat as most of you listening and Andy here. But we did. My mother-in-law got us some crazy cheap, fancy dirt. So we did half some sort of compost and then half duck poop.
Nice.
So
right.
I guess that's supposed to be good. I don't know, but things seem to be growing well so far. So
Yeah. Why do there's a book, and I just blanked on his name. Square Foot Gardening by Bartholomew, maybe something Bartholomew. It's a strange name. Just Google Square Foot Gardening; it'll pop straight up. That's the book that was recommended to me when I first started, and he recommended doing 1/3 peat moss, 1/3 compost, and 1/3 vermiculite. And vermiculate's just like the small white stuff you see in a lot of potting soil.
Yeah,
it's basically just a really porous rock. A, to help aerate the soil, but B, to help retain moisture and like distribute that later on. And that did really, really well. When we moved, I did two 4x8 beds, and then for the garden stuff, and then one 4x8 bed for strawberries and asparagus. And in 1.5 of each bed, I did the 1/3 mix, and then the other 1.5 boxes was just like straight, like good rich soil from a farmer buddy my dad knows.
Oh, awesome.
I'd say they're growing about equal. Like they have all the nutrients they need from the compost and the peat moss, and then the soil from the farmer. So,
and
I'm not noticing.
I think it'll vary too based off where you live.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's why. So, initially I had to do a raised bed because the old house and the new house were just crap soil, just really
just clay.
dense clay.
Yeah.
Especially now I'm in a new neighborhood, and the farmer sold the land, and then I don't know if the farmer sold the soil or if the developer sold the soil, but they basically just stripped off all the good stuff.
Yep.
Sold that for a pretty penny, and then left us with just crap.
Yep.
Like grass.
That's how our yard is
wanting
too.
to grow.
Welcome
Like, it's
to
terrible.
Indiana.
Yeah. And maybe we can touch on briefly. So we all have different soil mixtures, but for someone that's maybe just going to get into it, what's like a simple, easy, hey, you can go pick this up at the store to plant your stuff in? Because I know like we have neighbors that have literally just bought topsoil and tried to grow stuff in it, and it just doesn't work very well. So
I think just the important thing is food for the plants.
Yeah,
so just some kind of
nutrients.
compost.
Yeah, you gotta have some type of nutrient to it.
Yeah.
I will say there is a guy on Instagram that is great. It's Salty Acres. He's a North Carolina guy. He has some incredible amount of knowledge. He's where I got the self-watering containers.
Nice.
I will say his mixture that he did with the brand of peat moss that he suggested with the Black Cow were our worst performing buckets.
Really?
They, for whatever reason, maybe our climate is just a tad bit different here in Indiana than North Carolina. It just didn't do as well. So I'll be honest, I went to Ace Hardware and I got the cheapest compost and the cheapest peat moss, and everything thrived in
Works,
it.
yeah.
And I wish I could tell you what the name was. But
Did you put the same plant in like both? Because I'm kind of curious if it could be like a plant thing.
Yes. So the only one that we did both with was the bell peppers.
Okay.
So what's the benefit of, like we've all mentioned using some sort of compost, but then mixing it with something else? I just did that because that's what somebody told me to do.
Yeah.
Does anybody know what the actual benefit of mixing them is rather than just using straight compost?
It's the nutrients from the nitrates and all that stuff that's in it, and you're going to have different levels of those between the compost and like the peat moss or the soil or the what'd you use again? The
Vermiculite.
yes,
Yeah.
vermiculite.
Okay.
So,
Well, it's like just too much of a good thing is a bad thing. It's like you don't really want like all 100% food.
Yep.
Compost.
Okay.
It's like too many nutrients can like burn your plants and do
out,
bad
yeah.
things. So like the peat moss, that just it adds kind of fluff to the soil, but also like the peat moss will eventually break down and become compost.
Okay.
Is my understanding.
Yep.
Yeah. So really the only thing I add year by year is more compost.
Okay.
Because everything is like breaking down, like nutrients are being taken away, so like that's becoming like quote unquote dirt, or soil, like good dirt.
Right.
So you need to re-add those nutrients back to it.
Did you mulch your strawberries?
Kind of, but not
Little bit,
really.
like a little bit.
So basically, just the plants that died off, because I did kind of forget to water them towards the end of the summer, and they did get a little too dry. Nothing died, but I did lose, quite a bit of leaves. But I just kept all that leaf rubbish. That's compost now, or the mulch layer.
Yeah.
But I do highly, highly, highly recommend using some kind of mulch layer.
Yes.
Whether it's wood chips or straw. I know a lot of people don't like straw because sometimes it has seeds in there, and you actually start growing straw.
Yep.
But yeah, you got to put something down, especially if you're forgetful like me. Like, your plants will dry out in a raised bed like really, really quick.
Yeah, I think having the mulch is a bit of a game changer.
Oh, 100%.
For sure.
A, just weed control, but B, moisture retention.
And I think someone had said to I do stay away from it, but stay away from like pine mulch,
kind of like sappy
pine. Well, because it's so acidic. So you kind of want to stay. But that's I would love to hear other people's opinions on it, what they think, because that's just what I was told. I was told to stay away from like pine stuff.
I could see that a little bit. Yeah.
So why? So you guys are talking about buckets. I get that. Can move them around. Can talk about raised beds.
Yeah.
So what's the benefit, I guess, from raised beds versus in the ground? Like, why did you guys choose to do raised beds?
Well, for me, it was just soil. It's like I have just that really, really bad dirt. It's like plants just won't grow in clay.
But you couldn't, I guess, dig it out and then put in your raised bed material into it?
You could. It's just a lot of work to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, the great thing, too, about raised beds is, you can kind of, I guess you could if you dug something out in your ground to do it, but you can kind of just, landscape a little bit nicer.
Mm-hmm. You can make it. You can tie it into your landscape.
Yeah, tie it in your landscape rather than why do you have that massive hole in your yard in the winter?
Yeah,
gotcha.
Okay,
so growing up, my dad had a huge garden, and it was just part of our yard.
Right.
And we never had any weird stuff happening because of that. Sometimes a plant would creep out into the yard, and you just mow it or weed whack it. Like our strawberries, if the strawberries were not in a container, they would take over the yard real quick, which is like a blessing and a curse.
Right.
But yeah, because it's raised, it's just more contained, easier to manage.
Mint does the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I did a hanging bucket for the mint this year, just because last year we put it in one of the containers, and it we actually put it in with the peas, and it just
annihilates the peas. Probably,
man, it choked the peas out actually. So
mint spreads quick.
I intentionally put mint in my landscaping just because I want to hit it with that weed whacker every time I run past it. It smells so good.
I want to do that with basil. Yes. I love, and every once in a while, I know you're supposed to keep the water off the leaves, but once they get up there, but every once in a while, I would just hit the basil real quick with a little quick mist and just get that
fresh scent,
scent in there.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to Andy's question about timeline. So you asked about when do you start stuff.
Yeah, so again, that's the thing. I know nothing about this. So what's a healthy time to
Yeah, so Corey mentioned here in Indiana, central Indiana specifically, Mother's Day is kind of our quote unquote, that's a safe time to put plants outside.
And just for your knowledge, and when you're looking stuff up, we are zone 6.
Yeah.
We kind of border zone 5, zone 6, depending on the map and where you're getting information. But we're zone 6.
Yeah. And that's, the zones are kind of, to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about zones. Is it mostly temperature or just
temperature.
Average last frost type of thing. Yeah.
And that's what the timing is based off of, is the last frost, which as we all know here in Indiana, it's hard because
you never really know.
In theory, plants could have survived a month before Mother's Day this year, but
it also depends on what you plant.
Yeah.
There's a lot of plants out there that are fairly frost tolerant.
Yeah, there's some really hardy stuff.
My strawberries, they were outside all winter, and what was it negative 5 degrees at some point, and they survived.
Lettuce does really well. Potatoes do really well because you bury those deep. So
but for things like peppers and tomato, most tomatoes, those will die real quick,
super fast. Yeah,
you get a light frost and they're just gone. But seeds. So I love to start everything from seeds. So I buy seed packets. And
where do you get those?
Lowe's.
Okay.
Any hardware store. Farmers market sometimes sells seeds.
You definitely want to. Do you go organic with your seeds?
No. I buy some hybrids. I buy some heirloom.
I always get the organic.
Yeah,
I go with
I like the idea of heirloom. So heirloom seeds are like a purebred. If I'm like boiling down to the simplest of
non-GMO.
Basically, it's like if that when that heirloom tomato or heirloom whatever grows a fruiting body, you can save those seeds and replant those next year, and it should grow that plant again. If you buy hybrid, on the other hand, like just anything that's not heirloom, it's kind of a roll of the dice. It's either a roll of the dice whether or not it will grow, or it definitely will not grow. And if it grows, it might not produce a fruit. Right. It's just because like the way that the genetics worked to blend this perfect tomato or this perfect pepper that might be more resistant to disease, or it might be drought tolerant, or it might just be bigger, badder tomatoes. Who knows why they breed what they breed. But in the process of mixing those two plants together to produce this hybrid, like it kind of sterilizes the plant. Like it's just not it's not viable. So you can save the seeds, it just might not do anything.
Got it.
For non-heirloom seeds.
Heirloom seeds.
Heirloom seeds are good.
After Mother's Day.
Yes. Yeah, so if you're looking to like
raised bed,
become like a apocalyptic farmer, like get the heirloom seeds.
Sorry.
Buy moose.
Well, and to Corey mentioned organic seeds too. I guess that's another benefit of raised beds. We did not buy organic plants this year because we were kind of late to the game. But one of the reasons we did raised beds was to have kind of a barrier from the lawn and not get the like fertilizer and stuff in our soil.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that makes sense too, I guess, because when we do a lot of like, my lawn is very pretty. It's very pretty for a reason. So
yeah.
So you might want to raise bed.
Yeah, I mean, even like buckets, because like buckets, honestly, depending on how the sun hits your property.
That was where I was going to ask next. Is like, where do you put these things, or how do you pick that?
Depending on where they're at, like how the sun hits your property. Like if you have like a patio that gets pretty decent sun for most of the day, man, you can throw some buckets on your patio and like line them up real nice. I mean, you can see mine from where you're sitting. They're all just white buckets. But you can make them look nice. Spray paint the bucket, color to match the outside or whatever, and pretty them up if you need to. And so all of my buckets were, as a lot of people that have been listening for a while know that I have a skincare, company. All of my buckets are from, products that we went through, and so it was great to be able to use those.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Right.
Do most things that you plant in your garden, they're all full sun, right?
I was about to ask the exact same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot think of anything that people would put in a garden that's not full sun.
Okay.
Maybe some herbs, potentially.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The hard part about my property right now is that we have these massive trees.
Yeah.
Massive. So when you say full sun, there's very few spots at my house that are full sun.
Full sun too doesn't necessarily mean sun on them all day long. It just means, is it 8 hours of sun or 6 hours?
Well, like we get like where our garden is at right now, by the time it's hit like 2:30, 3 o'clock, it's in the shade. For the most of it is in the shade. So and you're good by that time.
Yeah, I think you'd probably get better results if it was pure sun, like dawn to dusk.
Right. Well, that makes a lot of sense now why Jody put her garden where she did.
Yeah.
Because it is not in a spot that I think would be super ideal personally. But again, I love Jody and I love what's going on next door, so I think it's great. But it is one of those things where I was like, that seems like an odd spot, but that's probably wise because that's probably one of the only spots.
That's why we put ours in our back corner rather than a little closer
to the house.
Just because the back corner gets sun all day long.
Right.
So
right.
Well, and like if you did corn. Which I would suggest not starting with corn because corn is difficult to do.
Corn would be tricky.
You need some hot sun all day long on that. So,
and also the problem with corn is you just need a ton of it.
Yeah, you did.
Like you only get one or two ears per stalk,
and that's like 2 is like awesome.
2 is great corn. Yeah, and also like you need enough corn to pollinate, so you almost need like 20 square feet of just corn.
Nope.
For it to be worth it.
I did 2 buckets and they didn't pollinate. The stalks grew and it looked awesome because they were like coming up really great, but they didn't pollinate, so they didn't produce.
You have a buddy who lives southern Indiana or south of Indianapolis, not southern, central Indiana, south of it. It's southern to me. And he had a huge patch of sweet corn, and dude, he was fighting raccoons left and right because they just annihilated it. But
Trash
it was
pandas will get you.
so good.
Yeah. I'm doing pumpkins this year.
Nice.
But I'm doing those in the ground, and then I'm doing I just got all of my stuff together for the watermelons and cantaloupe.
Nice.
And those will be in buckets.
See, I haven't gone into that route too
So will
much.
the watermelon be in the bucket or on the ground?
No, it'll grow up on a vine. So I've got a cattle panel out there that will go up. The bucket will sit like cattle panel here, buckets like right here. And as they start to grow out, I'll kind of weave them through the cattle, and then they've got like little phalanges that come off of them, tentacles that come off of them.
For those that aren't watching this, there's really fun fingers going on.
Little T-Rex fingers.
They will start to grab on it and weave its way up the vine. So,
Right on.
but it's awesome, man. It's so cool to watch them just
It's awesome, yeah.
come like out of the bucket, and then like just, and all of a sudden we walked out there one day and we're like, man, I feel like we're not producing anything. Like, I don't know if they're going to do. And then the next day we had like 12 watermelons. I was like,
crazy.
this is awesome.
Yeah. So plants like watermelon, squash, cucumbers, pumpkins, like they just take a ton of space because they just never stop growing.
Yeah.
And I mean, fun pumpkin story. We grow pumpkins, but only because when we bought our house, that August, our realtor just gave us a pumpkin. We just came home one day and there's a pumpkin on the porch. And we're like, cool, yeah, we'll keep it there till it rots. Put it in the compost bin. Next year we had pumpkins.
Awesome.
And we got the pumpkin.
It was in like it was growing.
Yeah, just grew out of
bin.
the pumpkin seeds were in the compost, and they just grew out of the compost.
That's crazy.
I didn't clip them down. And every year since then, like I think 2 years ago, it finally stopped producing.
Right.
I did something weird, and
So are those
we didn't get
heirloom
pumpkins,
pumpkins?
it had to have been, yeah. But,
Yeah.
but we had pumpkins for like almost a decade, like
That's awesome.
because of that one pumpkin my realtor gave us. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So like free fall decor just growing out of my compost. But dude, it took over the yard. Like those
They go fast.
plants
They're
are like
vine-
20 feet, and
Yeah.
the leaves are like dinner sized, dinner plate sized. And so it almost kills all the grass that it grows over top of. So it's not the best for a pretty lawn, but
Yeah, if you're going to do something
you get
like
pumpkins, and it's
if you're
awesome.
going to do something like pumpkins, I would suggest like doing a cattle panel and trellising them.
Growing them
they
up would
go
be cool, yeah.
Because pumpkins like have really strong vines, so
Yeah.
like they won't fall off.
Dude, I just remember this. Growing up, my dad had compost piled right next to our kind of a cinder block, like a really old cinder block garage. And the pumpkin literally grew up the side of the garage.
That's cool.
And we had a pumpkin dangling from the edge of the garage.
That's awesome.
Like
That's
at
awesome.
the peak of, not the peak of the roof, but like where the eave, like where the
Nice.
the roof kind of goes over. Just literally dangling there.
That's
And
cool.
until it got
That's
too
cool.
heavy and fell off. But
That's awesome.
That's probably a good segue into just what we're each growing this year and what's easy to grow, what's not. Because I'm in the boat of I just chose all the easy things to grow since it's my first year, and you guys sounds like are doing some more complex things. So
Yeah.
Corian told us what's in his garden mostly.
Yeah.
What else?
I feel like for me though, like as a starter, like if you're going to start something, I feel like peas they're so easy.
Yeah.
And you can pretty much do those in anything. Like even if you have like a hanging basket, you can do peas in them because then they'll just hang over the side, and then they'll just keep going.
Sorry, you say peas real quick. You mean like a sugar snap pea?
like a sugar, a sugar snap pea. Yeah.
So not quite the pea that you find in the grocery store.
Right.
So it's sweeter. You can eat the shell.
Yeah.
which those are more complicated, right? Not in the sense of growing, but you can't just plant them. Like those have to have a trellis or something, right?
Yeah, they gotta have a trellis. Unless you do like a hanging basket. If you do a hanging basket, then they can just hang over. And I've seen some people doing those.
Got to put it pretty tall.
Recently, but none of ours ever make it in the house because
Oh, no.
Paisley just goes out there and eats them.
Dude, they're so good.
Yep.
Which
Warm off the
explain what a
vine.
trellis is real quick.
So a trellis can be pretty much anything. We have some small ones that kind of fork together and like you can stack them up depending on what you need, put them side by side so they get stronger or bigger. So we've got a few of those.
But they are physically like sticks. They're the white things you see out on the side.
Yeah.
Houses.
So and then
it could be chain link fence.
Can be chain link fence, anything.
Cattle.
So
cattle fence.
I also have a cattle panel out there. I have an 8-foot cattle panel. This year I'm doing a what am I trying to say? An arch with
That'd be
it.
awesome.
Like an arch trellis. Okay.
Yeah, it'll go over 4 of. I have 4 buckets that I specifically spaced out that all need trellises. So that'll go over those, nice. And then each side will hit each plant. But then on the ones that won't hit the plant, I will tie hemp string coming down to the plant and kind of clip them to the.
That's awesome.
So they'll come up.
And I've seen a lot too where, like me and Chris have the raised beds where people do a arch trellis between 2 raised beds because then you can plant like the peas or whatever.
I'm gonna try that this year with my cucumbers.
Oh, let us know how it goes.
Yeah. How many cucumbers did you plant?
I did 4 plants.
Yeah, we did 9. We're gonna have too many cucumbers.
You're gonna make pickles?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, yeah. I don't need to do it.
Yes.
Cucumbers. I got a guy.
Yeah.
Well, so Colton, what's in your garden?
We did. So we kind of split each bed into different things. So one bed is just all herbs. We just essentially threw up a bunch of herbs into the first bed, and what makes it. What doesn't. It seems like they're all doing pretty well though. We did mint, basil, rosemary, oregano, chives. I'm sure there's a couple others in there that I'm forgetting, but nice. the chives specifically are awesome.
Yeah.
And the reason we did the herb bed is, whatever you're cooking, you can walk out to the garden then and pick some of those herbs off.
Right.
Use the fresh chives or fresh oregano.
Dude, that's the best.
That's the best.
Herbs straight from
the
garden.
I have seen that, like, to kind of tie this back to cooking. There's been some really cool pictures that Colton and team have shared with just eggs and just the chives chopped up across the top of it. And that's like the one thing I can't do that at my house.
Chives are awesome.
Chives are one of the awesome herbs that you probably you're not going to be able to kill it.
Yeah.
It will always come back.
Well. Yep.
Well,
it does really well.
Specifically with the herbs too, around here at least, it's expensive to go buy fresh herbs.
Yep.
You get a tiny...
Hard to find them here.
Yeah.
You can get stuff that's like, it's expensive, or if you can find them at all, or you can buy a living one and it's like $17 and it's like, what am I going to do with this? Like,
so sit it in your windowsill,
exactly.
and it'll last a long time.
Yeah.
So we kind of went the route of what is expensive at the store that we can grow ourselves fairly easily. So herbs was a big one. We have a bed then. We did strawberries and onions and zucchini.
Nice.
And zucchini I think we'll chat about it later, but the reason we did the onions with the strawberries is they supposedly keep animals away, but we'll get into that later. And then the third bed, I did all, we go through a lot of peppers, and specifically green and red peppers at the store are ridiculously expensive for what they are. So
it's true, yeah.
I did some green and red peppers, and then a couple tomato plants I got for free from a neighbor.
Nice.
And then just a variety of other peppers. I did jalapenos, Santa Fe, chili.
So that's the part of it that
Serrano.
I can see me getting into the other part. That's cool.
And then somebody mentioned wild raspberries earlier.
I would love to do that.
So my neighbor does a bunch of raspberries, and he gets these little shoots because the birds will eat them, and they'll, the seeds will get buried in the ground, and they'll get these tiny little plants. So I told him last year he asked if he could bury some in my tree line in my house. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, go for it. So now we got a couple.
Some.
Yeah, for sure.
It's awesome.
We got a couple raspberry plants coming up. I think he just planted a couple more this weekend.
When they come in, Jody usually has us come over, and we'll just pick a bunch. And guys,
awesome.
If you've never had a wild raspberry before, it is just different.
Yeah.
It's just different.
It's the same.
What's your
same
favorite
literally
wild
with
berry?
every... Sorry, Corey.
No,
it's the same with like every plant. Like I guarantee you, if you try like a fresh garden green bean, like you would love it.
Yeah,
like it is freaking good.
Well, and just like the amount of work that you put in it.
Yeah.
It's
that. But also it's like what Jason said a couple episodes ago. It's like when you pick this thing, it's like it is peak ripeness.
Yeah.
Like it is perfection.
Yeah.
Like
right.
So fresh.
There's no waiting on a truck.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks. There's no.
So everything's just way better.
Yeah.
Well, that's like. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, what's your favorite wild berry?
Oh gosh. Probably red, like raspberry or a blueberry, probably.
I got hands down blueberries for me. I did a backpacking trip years ago on Isle Royale, which is a small island in the middle of one of the big Michigan lakes. I forget which one. That's embarrassing. But one day we were hiking on the ridge line at the peak elevation, and we found all these wild blueberries. Nice. So we were just picking wild blueberries, and we had them for dinner. And maybe it was because we were hungry from hiking all day too. But best berries I've ever had.
Mine are mulberries.
Mulberry.
Never had a mulberry.
Well, there's a tree right there,
and
they're awesome. They're everywhere.
Okay.
Very cool. Well, what's in my garden, you ask?
Yeah. You're next.
What's in your garden, Chris?
Yeah.
Tomatoes. I get a ton of tomatoes. I like variety. So I got some Brandywine tomatoes, probably my favorite. Green tomatoes I'm in love with. It's like a green zebra or like a German green tomato. Just super cool. They never turn red. Like at peak ripeness, the green zebras kind of get like this bluish tiger stripe look. There's really beautiful tomatoes that stay really tart, like awesome in a salad. Tons of peppers, bells, jalapeno, habanero. I'm doing a banana peppers this year.
Ooh, okay. We may need to trade some peppers here.
Yeah.
If they survive, yeah. But the banana peppers, I think that's what they use for like Papa John's pizza. Like they pickle
like the pepperoncinis.
Pepperoncinis. Like I think, is that the same pepper?
I don't think so.
I think it's different.
It's a different one.
I always thought they were the same.
Kinda
Someone
look the
told me
same,
they were
yeah.
different.
Okay.
They have sweet and hot banana peppers, though. Which one?
Okay.
Do you know which ones you're doing? Okay.
We'll find out.
So my my kids
Bite of the first one.
We'll see what
my
Grayson
kids
thinks.
have started ripping out all my signs.
Oh
So,
no!
Yeah, they're just strewn about the lawn, so I don't really know what everything is currently because I forget where I put it. So we'll see when the
Makes
stuff
it fun
starts
when it
making
starts.
fruit.
Yeah.
So Jess, being who she is and as detailed and organized as she is, all of our stuff is drawn out on paper.
I used
And
to do
then
that,
it
but I got
has-
lazy this year.
And then it has what's in it.
Make
so
some garden schematics.
we're doing some zucchini as
Ooh,
well.
Okay.
And then we're doing a ton of lettuce. We have a lot of lettuce that we're doing. And
See, I tried
carrots.
lettuce, but I think my seed was way too old and just none of it sprouted.
Yeah, we've already got some decent sprouts. You guys I feel like you guys both started a little bit earlier than I did.
Okay.
Because you've got
Like this year?
yeah, you got some good bounty going on already, especially
Yeah,
doing with your
so
strawberries.
I started my seeds, probably 2 months before Mother's Day, just to try and get them up.
Did you go straight
that.
to dirt, or did you do straight to your beds, or did you do like starter little?
I do starter pods in my garage.
Yeah, so we ended up not doing that this year, which there's still like I've got like 12 of those cups sitting over there. We just didn't even use them, so maybe I can send some home with you.
Yeah. So I start pretty early in the garage.
And
tomatoes, peppers, basil. I start inside. That's about it.
So for
lettuce, I would start outside.
For Andy, who's at this table, what are you talking about right now?
I was like,
What's the
starting
starter
seeds, like
the
you get a little-
PMOS pods or
yeah, get
whatever.
a little. I've just got those probably 3-inch tall plastic, containers that you see like in Lowe's and stuff. Plants come in. And I just fill it full of potting soil, usually just straight from the bag, and start my seeds in there.
Just
in
water
the
them.
garage. Yeah, just water them, keep them warm, and give them light when they sprout. and-
We did
There you
that. We did that last year, and it was fun because
Yeah.
it's in the house. The kids are actually we use that table right there.
Nice.
The kids are just watching it sit in front of the windowsill.
Dude, it's
But
so
this
fun
year-
just watching those things creep out of the
it's
soil.
super
and-
awesome. This year we just went straight to
Yeah.
the pots.
I've,
So,
I've
yeah,
seen,
you
I've
have-
seen mixed results. Like, is it worth starting them inside? Maybe. But like the ones that grow rogue in my garden, like I have a hard time picking like tomatoes that fall on the ground and you don't clean them up. And if they do have heirloom status, like they'll grow.
Yeah.
And I let them grow most of the time if they're not in the way. A month or two into season, like they all look the same. So
That's what I just got from my neighbor. Just ones that were growing.
yeah.
But yeah, there's like two. You can go 2 routes, Andy. Grow them. Start from seed inside, which is generally a lot cheaper, right? Or is it not?
Oh yeah, starting from seed versus
Yeah.
buying like a grown plant from
Oh,
the store.
absolutely.
So much cheaper.
Absolutely.
It's easier though. Like
It's easier just to buy the plant.
We
yeah.
missed the time frame to start growing our own,
Yeah.
so we just bought like plants and planted them.
I mean, what's a tomato plant, like $3-4?
Yeah, a couple
Yeah.
bucks.
maybe $5.
I mean, it's not expensive.
A pack of seeds is like $3.
Some of them,
You
some
have,
of the
like,
stuff will get
30
really
tomato plants in
expensive.
maybe 50.
Like it's like we have, because of where we are, we have so many mosquitoes, so we always try to get like some lemongrass or chamomile or a citronella. Like we got 2 citronella plants out there, and man, they were $14 a piece.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I would like to have like 7 of them out there, but I don't want to pay $14 a piece for 7 of them.
Yes. Yeah. Well, one thing Jason recommended when we talked to him was starting with stuff that is annual. So stuff that is going to come back every single year.
Is that what perennial means? He said perennial.
Perennial. I always
Perennials come back. Annual
Annual
is like a tomato. It's going to die, and you're going to rip it up. Okay.
So think annual you have to do every year.
Annually.
That makes sense, yeah.
But perennials come back.
Perennial
every
comes
year.
back, yeah. So things like my asparagus, my strawberries. I planted those. Gosh, this is the second summer that they've been growing, and the strawberries are just on fire.
Yeah, you have so many strawberries.
Yeah, I've got probably a decent sized bowl that I probably every 3 days is full of strawberries.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So
but they are. So there's 2 different kinds of strawberries. From what I understand, there's like the everbearing, which is what I have, which they'll produce pretty much all summer long. They're not as sweet, but you get a ton of them. And then there's also June bearing, which typically only
Happens in June.
They give you strawberries in June. Typically, those are a little bit sweeter.
There you go,
from what I
Andy.
understand.
But they're a little bit more sensitive. Like you can scorch those.
Yeah, you
really
can't yell at
easily.
them. Can't yell at them.
No.
Yes.
What is, because we just planted some strawberries, so you're getting that many strawberries out of how many square feet in your garden?
So one full 4x8 is strawberries.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
so
Oh
it's
my
strawberries,
goodness.
strawberries with asparagus. So when I first planted them, gosh, I think I did.
Are they just all mixed in together? Like you've
Yeah.
got asparagus sprouting up between
So
strawberries?
so the asparagus, you want to. I got the roots, like I forget what they're called. They look like little octopuses when you buy them. So they're already established. I did not start that from seed. That would have taken a full extra year.
Yeah.
Put that in the ground, like pretty much at the bottom of my bed, my raised bed. And I think my raised bed's maybe 1.5 2 foot deep. So you want those roots really deep for the asparagus. And the strawberries are basically at the surface, like maybe 3-4 inches down. And so I did the full perimeter of the 4x8 in strawberries, probably 1 plant every foot or so. And then the interior, like if you draw quadrants, you've got 4 boxes by 4 or 8 boxes by 4 boxes, length and width. Basically each square foot is 1 plant.
Okay.
And that's where the square foot gardener, comes in place.
Yeah.
The asparagus needs a little bit more space, so I think I did every 2 foot for the asparagus. But yeah, the center, like inside the donut is asparagus, and then the perimeter was strawberries. But after that first year, the strawberries just took over the whole garden.
Okay.
So
and they'll climb out of
Yeah.
the bed
Oh, they will,
and into the grass.
growing into my lawn. I got to weed whack them, or usually I just cut them and give them away.
We did
because the strawberries will take off.
We did them in a gutter that we screwed to the side of the house.
That's
But
awesome.
this year we ended up not doing them, and we put all of our marigolds. So we try to. That's one thing that you plant. Do you do marigolds? Do you do?
I did once. I didn't notice
We
it.
do them.
We'll talk about that here in a
Yeah,
bit.
we do that in all of them. So
for pest
that's-
control, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work for me.
Mm.
But yeah. You asked about the asparagus. Yeah, it just pops right up through the strawberries.
It's so
and-
cool.
Sweet.
So good, yeah.
We need to try that.
The asparagus is not old enough, so we're not eating it quite yet.
Okay.
This is the second summer, and they recommend when you plant asparagus, like the first year, the first and second summers, just try to let as much go to seed as possible. So like the asparagus shoots you've seen in the store, like it looks exactly like that. If you let it keep growing, gosh, mine are probably 5 foot tall, and then they get like real leafy. So they're huge plants.
Interesting. Okay.
But you're just gathering an immense amount of sunlight and just putting all the energy straight back into the roots.
Why are they so short at the store then?
You just clip them off, and that's when they're most of the tender.
Okay.
So you let them grow too much, they're going to get woody and real, just not pleasant to eat, and then they sprout these leaves, and
Okay.
So next year you'll cut them short, and then it'll be like what you said.
Okay.
So next year, the roots should be strong enough where we can cut off a lot of the stems. And
That
eat
makes a
them.
lot of sense. When we were at
Stalks.
Jason's house, there was a bunch of them shooting out.
Yeah,
And I was
they
like,
were
why are they so
super
tall?
tall.
They were so
Yeah,
tall.
yeah.
But those must be ones he's that's not this year's. That's some other
Could be.
years.
Yeah, could be. He's letting them go to seed, but it's also just it's a healthier plant. It's managed a lot better. And I want to. I don't know this for fact, but I'm almost thinking that like if you keep clipping them off, like they'll shoot up more, just because they're trying to get sunlight.
Yeah.
That's how they're getting sunlight is, the stalks. And, because the mass producers are clipping them off, they're smaller in the store, they're thinner, they're more like pencil sized or a little bit bigger. That's just because they're just trying to get as many as possible. But like with Jason, it's like really good quality. Like it's got enough, the right compost, like he's done it right. They're good plants. They grow huge. And like they're so stinking good.
That's probably my biggest struggle this year is just like I don't know what I don't know. So trying to figure out like how to actually cut stuff, how often to cut it.
Oh yeah.
Like my chives were already going nuts and flowering and stuff. So I ended up snipping all those. But trying to figure out.
I mean, that's kind of like where you start. When things start flowering, cut it. Start cutting it. Start trimming it back.
Yeah.
Don't let anything. I mean, if you get a couple flowers here and there, it's not going to hurt it. Just start. Mint does it a lot.
Yeah.
Basil does it pretty quickly.
Yeah. Basil's tricky. Yeah.
Anything that flowers, you want to, as soon as you start seeing flowers on it, you start want to trimming it.
Careful with that because like things like your peas.
Your peas.
Peas come from the flowers.
Yeah,
Tomatoes come from the flowers. So
do strawberries come from flowers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I noticed our strawberry plants are flowering. So
don't cut those off.
No, don't cut those. Sorry,
Otherwise you want to
I should rephrase
herbs,
that. Not everything.
Yeah,
herbs.
Cut the flowers off your herbs.
Okay.
Things like basil. Like there's definitely techniques to how you trim them and cut them back. And there's some tomato tips and tricks we could get into. I'm not sure where you guys want to take this episode, but there's definitely like. Well, gosh, we're almost at our hour, so this might be a part 2.
Yeah. We might need to do a part 2 for sure.
Do we have time real quick? I'd like to touch on like you mentioned pest control because that's something I feel like a lot of people, myself included, don't know a lot about.
Yeah, tell me about pests.
So
what eats our garden?
I will.
Well, Jason alluded. Yeah, we got rabbits.
Rabbits are awful. There's actually a portion of our fencing that we have where we put chicken fencing around it, just because the freaking rabbits got on the bench that's sitting outside of it and was
hopping over the fence.
Well, either hopping over it or just leaning over it and getting to the cucumbers. Pests. So you do like marigolds or what they call companion planting, like putting onions with the strawberries. There's lots of different things that you could go into.
You've seen that work?
Yeah, I mean. There is. The other thing that you can do, we're all adults. If you have kids and you have a yard, especially little boys, or your animals, have them go out there and piss around the buckets or your garden, because it is a deterrent, because they get that human smell. The other thing is pet hair, is also a great natural pest repellent. If you cut your own pet's hair or whatever
for things like rabbits,
rabbits and
bugs, not
and stuff like that. Bugs, no, but I use. I wish I had the name of it. I've got a bottle of it out there. It's some concentrate that I
neem.
Yes, neem oil. So that's the only thing that I use. I only use neem oil. I will say I made a massive mistake on it with my broccoli though.
No.
I went out there early one morning. I was like, I feel like something's getting these. I'm just going to spray some neem oil on it. Sprayed it. I was really excited because it brought new life back to the leaves, and they were all vibrant and looking good. Not really realizing that I did it in the morning. So when the sun came up, it fried those leaves. Fried them.
Just put like a suntan oil.
Yeah, it is. It's like putting a suntan oil on it. So you got to be careful. You only put neem oil on it in the evening.
Yeah.
So it kind of dries overnight. Before that.
So how does that affect though? Like we're trying to do like all organic and stuff. Avoid pesticides and all that.
That's why you use neem oil.
Okay, so
it's a natural essential oil.
Okay, got it.
I've also heard is it dichotomous earth?
Yeah.
What's that
diatomaceous
word?
earth.
Diatomaceous.
We just I have some of that. Yeah.
Me and words. Yes.
Yeah.
So I know that like bugs hate that stuff.
Put that on the soil.
That'll help with bugs. I think Jason mentioned just dish soap.
Yep.
Just putting dish soap with a bunch of water in a spray bottle. That shouldn't hurt your plant.
Yeah.
Like Corey said, like you just want to be careful about getting your plants wet when it's sunny outside.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that I have found that works amazing, Andy, this would be perfect for you if you decide to go with some buckets. Vaseline around the edge of it because all the crawlers from the ground, they get stuck in the Vaseline. They can't get through it. But I also with the like the gnats and stuff like that, all of the little flyers that get to your plants. You'll see here in the next week or so. I have these little stakes in every single pot, and they'll have a bright yellow, and it's got to be yellow cup, because a lot of those little flies and gnats and stuff are attracted to yellow, and they're slathered with Vaseline, and it's amazing. You'll put it out there the next day, and it's like covered with them. And it's I saw it on TikTok. I didn't believe it worked, and it freaking does, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
I'll have to try that.
Honestly, like I haven't really done that much pest control with my garden, and yeah, I've got some bugs here and there, and it happens, but like very rarely do I ever have to do anything drastic. My first garden, because I had a dog at the time, like we had to put a fence around it, and I started with just like a really wide fence, and rabbits got in there, so I covered that with the chicken wire. Rabbits were still getting in. Like, these freaking rabbits are magicians. I have no idea.
They get so small.
How they get in.
That's my biggest concern. We have a lot of rabbits in our yard, and I've already noticed some strawberries missing.
So
yes, and rabbits will annihilate your strawberries.
They will.
Rabbits and birds, like they just love.
Yeah. So you'll see we have like little owls, like little mirror owls, hanging all over the place. That shine, really deters the birds.
Okay.
But I will tell you, like, in the evening, whatever, go out there, urinate around the beds.
I can't do that in my neighborhood.
Well,
see, we honestly just like being in a city, like that rabbits didn't care. Like, and we had a dog, like there was dog hair everywhere, dog pee everywhere. Like they didn't care.
They get so used to them.
Just didn't work.
I mean, you saw the rabbits in our yard,
gangsters
today, with the dogs. But there's as natural as you can go. That's what you want to do, and we tried it. Like I said, we only use like neem oil if we have to. The other thing that I do have that I love that's fun is I have a black light that I like to go out there
look for the worms.
Go look for the worms,
the tomato worms,
like tomato worms, because they'll destroy you overnight.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Dang. I mean, you can be like, this looks amazing, and the next day you come out there and it's destroyed.
All the leaves are gone
from one.
Yeah.
So I'll let you guys know if the onions work. I'm kind of curious about that. I mean, they're all coming up. I mean, they're forming like a fence around the strawberries.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice.
We'll see if stuff still goes missing.
I definitely think we're going to need to do a part 2, and I think it would be beneficial to do a part 2 with some other tips and tricks.
Oh yeah, because I got tomato tips. Pruning your basil. Yeah. We didn't talk about like when plants need to leave your garden, because like basil's, like as soon as it gets kind of warm, like it's going to be toast. Rosemary won't survive the winter. There's a lot of plant specific things we could talk about.
But to bring that to point though, and kind of close that up, is a lot of your herbs can come inside and sit on your windowsill, and you can grow them all year round. Like that's why we did. Like if you look out my window right here, for those those of us that are here, I just have my stuff sitting right there, and in the fall, those will come in and sit on a table right there on that window, and then we'll still be able to have them all year long.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up today. I said I would do a garden salsa recipe.
Yeah.
I did not.
But you lied.
I didn't lie. It's just I don't necessarily have a recipe. It's just I always kind of eyeball it, and I always just kind of like wing it. So I'll give you some garden salsa tips. And I didn't say this earlier, but basically my first garden, my dad had a garden growing up. So yeah, like I was used to a garden, and I wanted a garden because of that. But I also just wanted pizza ingredients because we were like real into homemade pizzas, and I just wanted to grow tomatoes and peppers and basil and all the things to put on a pizza. Most of those things also make awesome salsa. So the best thing to do is just grow what you like to eat. And that's my biggest advice to anyone that's thinking about starting a garden. It's like, think about like Colton, like what do you buy at the store?
I like
what
peppers.
do you want to stop buying? And what will you eat the most? Just put that in your yard.
Right.
Just start there. But yeah, for me, it's peppers, tomatoes, basil, cilantro, all this good stuff. Also, side note on the herbs, cilantro is another one of those things that's like it starts off real quick in your garden, but as soon as it gets hot, it's gone.
Done.
It's done.
Yeah.
So like unfortunately, the pizza taco ingredients, like they don't line up necessarily. It's like your cilantro is already gone long before you've got tomatoes. So like you got to save it and whatnot. So yeah, for salsa, I just take like a big blender, throw in a couple tomatoes, throw in a couple habanero, or either habaneros or jalapenos with seeds if you like extra heat, without seeds if you just like more of the flavor. And again, I just eyeball it. I pulse it a few times. I taste it. Big tip is apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of that'll do a great job. And sugar. A lot more sugar than you think should go in there. Like start light, but just keep adding sugar until it tastes the way you like it.
But when you say a little bit of apple cider vinegar, you thinking like, are you talking like a tablespoon type?
No,
like
maybe like an eighth of a cup.
Oh, okay, so a lot more. Okay,
a decent, but I'm making a big.
You're making a big batch.
Basically a full blender of salsa.
Okay.
So it's 4 or 5 tomatoes typically, and I like a little extra heat, so I'll do 4 or 5 full jalapenos. Cilantro if you've got it, basil if you've got it, onions if you've got them, red onions. I like red onions, and then just blend until you like the consistency. I like a little bit of a chunkier salsa. My wife likes a really really thin salsa. So I typically do 2 batches, a thick one for me and like a not so spicy thin one for her.
Nice.
And really that's about it. Just, have fun with it. Just experiment, try different things. And, if it turned out too hot, then just add more to it.
Add more tomatoes.
Have you ever had those Santa Fe peppers?
I don't think I have.
That's something I planted this year. They're supposed to be like salsa specific peppers, so we'll see how they are.
We'll see how that goes.
Nice.
And things like different types of tomatoes. I would probably pick a tomato that's not as juicy, maybe like a Roma. It's like a little bit more of a meaty tomato.
Yeah.
Because your salsa will thin down really quick. So if you've got big like beef steak tomatoes or like a brandywine tomato, something that's really big and juicy, maybe try dicing it up and like kind of coring it out. Like A, you're getting rid of the seeds, but B, you're getting rid of a lot of that liquid. That's just going to thin down your salsa too much. Also, I would recommend blanching your tomatoes real quick in hot water and just peeling the skins off.
Yeah.
Salsa will taste a little bit better with no skins.
Yeah.
But I've done it both ways because I'm lazy.
Nice.
But also, another hot tip, we got like 2 minutes. Hot tip is take your vegetables, dice them up or like quarter them and just throw them on the smoker for an hour or 2.
Ooh, okay.
My buddy Jason talked me into that, and like just a smoked tomato, like specifically tomatoes and onions just on the smoker and your peppers.
All right, you piqued my interest.
Put those in the
sounds
smoker,
good.
put them in the blender. Oh my word, that was
sounds
good
good.
salsa.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up with I'm
Yes.
not sure I'm sold this year, but I will.
It's a little late this year.
It's a little late, but I will.
We'll start
be
you off
down
next
to
year.
trade out some meat. So
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. That works.
Check. Yes. So everyone read in. Okayest Cook anywhere on the socials. hello@okayestcook.com. Tell us what you're growing in your garden.
Yeah,
Send us pictures.
absolutely.
We'd love to see the growing things. Make a food out of your garden and show us that.
Yeah.
So
Fresh ingredients.
nice. Yes.
That's the way to
That's
go.
the best part.
Dude, I'll tell you a killer sandwich to make when you're picking stuff. You take a basil leaf, some cherry tomatoes, just pop that straight in your mouth. Ooh, so good.
See, the cheese addict in me wants some fresh mozzarella with that. So
Use your yeast.